Okay, all right, folks. So let's start. So today we'll study attack on passwords and password solves. Okay, we are still into introductory part of the course, and this is most important thing because most of us will get attacked because of our passwords. Password is very simple to crack. Okay, so we'll look at some of the techniques. Where we are today, we have already covered the following. We have looked at security basics. We have looked at all the security principles. We have looked at CIA model, which stands for confidentiality, integrity, availability, authenticity. We
Hello, sir.
also studied, yeah, yeah,
Sir,
hello,
there
hello.
are new students in the branch because branch change happened on Saturday. Sir, can you give us recorded lectures of your previous classes so we can catch up?
Yes, I will upload it at the end of week, this week.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, okay. So basically we studied all these: non-repetition, access control, and privacy. All right. We have also looked at authentication concepts, and we have looked at password, little bit about password and threat modeling. You know, if if you plan to protect your password, what all you need to do. Okay. So these are the references that I followed for this lecture. Okay. So today we'll study the following concept: attack on password, key space. I have moved towards the end, making cracking harder, OTP, authentication. So these are all biometric, which I will leave it to you to study of your own, self-study. Yeah, all right. Okay. So tell me in the next slide, which security method we are using here. Look it carefully. And we have studied security principles, right? You have to tell me, unmute yourself and tell me. What is it like? Which security principle are we using? Or what method we are using? Not necessarily security principle, but what are you doing here? Okay, so this is a diagram that we have looked at, and so what we are doing is that we are doing external deterrence. If there is a thief who wants to enter, look at this, he will be certain that after reading this, thought will come, possibly he will, will be killed. All right. Okay, another question. Suppose you are walking, or you are going, you receive a magazine that has a free USB drive. You're walking, you find this in a hall, or somebody gives you, or it comes by post. What will do? And maybe this has, maybe 1 GB or something. Anyone? You receive a lot of magazines, if you subscribe magazines, free magazines, and they come with free USB drives. Pen stick that we call, flash drive, whatever. That you can attach to a computer, and then you are given 1 GB. What do you do? Anyone? Think about it.
We can scan it with the antivirus app.
like before using?
Okay. Antivirus. So basically, first thing you will, very good attempt. First thing you will do is that insert into your laptop. What will happen next? You will try to read what it contains, like, right? But before that, what does happen? How does your computer recognize an external device? Can I do, suppose I am a thief. Can I do any harm with this? Yeah, lot of things, and this is one of the very common ways of stealing users' credentials. All I can do is that actually I can give you assignments, but unfortunately you have not done OS course, so you will struggle. Okay, doing this assignment. So basically, what can be done is that I will have this kind of flash drives. I am a cyber criminal, and I will have set hundreds of these flash drives. Okay, and then I will have a small program into it, which is kind of batch file, which has series of commands. Okay, now what happens is that so as soon as you enter it, this batch file will go to your laptop. Okay, and starts running the program. Okay, while one of the files will keep you engaged by telling some it will display something. Okay, while this commands will take all important password files and whatever files it wants from your hard disk to it may create a small folder and keep it here or in the hard disk. Then it can invoke one email, your email program, which could be Gmail or one of those, and then send it to some fake email ID which is controlled by, for example, attacker, and all this file will go as an attachment. You will not even come to know about it. That's one simple method. The second thing, your password file, all information is gone then, right? And another smart thing we can do is that I can install as an attacker a small bot into this one. Okay, a malicious software, and which will keep doing something or other and will remain in your system without your knowing it. That is in your actual hard disk on your laptop, right? It can have a keylogger, for example. Whatever you type, you will note that or store that in a file and periodically send it to the master. Master means the criminal sitting outside, right? So anything can happen. So remember one very simple thing, that if you get anything, don't connect to your laptop. As simple as that. Once you have connected, you can't do anything, whether you run antivirus software or something. Possibly you run antivirus software, after that you may be able to find out if your antivirus software is smart enough, but otherwise not. Now, by the time you run antivirus software, everything will be gone. Okay, so remember one very simple thing, nothing comes free. Nothing comes free in life. Nobody gives you free. Even if you get buy one get one kind, nothing is free. Okay, I mean, if you go to a shop and you say buy one get one, why somebody is giving for half price? Either they have doubled the price or they want to something that's not sold and poor in quality may give you buy one get one. But coming back to the point is that any point in time, if you get something, don't bring it to your machine. It could be you go to a website This especially for those who want to go to, dating website or some of those obscene websites, and there's a click or there's some link. If you press on that, it's certain that it has installed malware into your system. How does it install? That mechanism you can figure it out if you study web technologies, or at the end, if you get time, we'll study that. But remember that, because this course is about the awareness as well, never ever use anything that comes free to you. Okay, like this kind of disk or any. If you cannot find out the HTTP or from the address that's given on a link, or it does not come from known credible sources, just don't click it. All right. In mobile in particular, if you click such things, then it's certain that there is a keylogger that's installed. Okay, so we studied in last class passwords. We all use passwords, and passwords are stored in computer or server as a hash of the password. Okay, so when we do hash, we get a string of fixed length. So now when we enter password, for example, this system takes this password and calculates the hash of it and stores in password file hash of password. Okay, now when I'm sorry, when passwords are created, when passwords are used, you will enter the password, it will create hash of that and compare the two. If matches, then you are allowed. Simple. Now the top two hacking techniques, there are a lot of techniques. I mean, you can find out in this paper. Verizon publish every year a lot of information, a lot of reports about these things. In the last year 2022, top two hacking techniques were stolen credentials and phishing. Both are related. Of course, next come exploiting vulnerabilities. Your laptop, for example, your laptop, the OS may be very old and OS may have some known faults, and you have not updated your OS, then possibly there is a vulnerability which cyber criminals know. So this is very important way of attacking somebody's computer, to find out what version of OS is running, what version of application software running. Go to website and find out what are the vulnerabilities in the old ones, because even OS company like like Linux or whatever, or Microsoft, etc., they will publish what your vulnerability in the previous version, and you have not updated your OS version. Cyber criminals know that your OS is old version, and then they can attack. This is very common way of attacking. Okay, so stolen credentials is essentially means that your passwords are stolen. Okay, phishing is by sending you very specific, that's basically fooling you. You get a link, and then you click on the link, and then you go to the website, you enter your user ID, password, and this is a fake website, but they will know what is your user ID, password for a particular website, right? Okay, all these things comes under phishing. All right. So now password credentials, because of credentials, almost like you can see 50% hacking happens because of stolen credentials. So now you need to be very careful that your passwords are not known to cyber criminals. So how do we then attack on passwords, right? What are the common ways? We'll study now. And please feel free to ask questions. First thing is that, of course, it can be done either online or offline. Okay, online means that you know user ID, my user ID, and then you try to guess my password and attempt. So you'll get multiple times, you are allowed to do that. And after 3 or 4 attempts, my account, victim's account, is locked, but it's safe for me. But it is inconvenience to me to change the password again. All right. So the online attack is happens, but first is that user, now my password, how do cyber criminals know my password? So that comes from the offline. Okay, now how does offline thing work? How somebody is going to guess my password? Okay, and then attempt using online method, right? So first thing is that there's a lot of word lists are available. Okay, which are publicly available word lists, and it contains all the passwords. It could be few millions. Okay, which people use. Okay, all right. It could be all. For example, if it's India centric public list, then it will contain name like Rajesh, Ram, or Muhammad or whatever. All right, all these names are there, and then after that there's a combination of letters and symbols and so on and so forth, right? It has almost all dictionary words. So that's first thing, right? Second is that mangling rules are there to generate variants. My name is Ravi, then there are a lot of then you apply mangling rules and it will create a password like 1234 or Ravi 12 star. Okay, or Ravi 12 at the rate, this kind, or my surname, it will take Mittal 1, okay, 7 8 question mark and so on and so forth. All these combinations will generate. Okay, then social engineering and phishing. I mean, for example, your grandpa gets a phone call that your bank account is frozen, we'll send you a pin, can you please let me know pin, and so on and so forth. All these tricks come under social engineering or phishing. Okay, or somebody comes to your home and says that your router has some problem, you want to fix it, and then changes user ID and password of the router. What will do, suppose somebody comes to you from a company, say Indian companies like Jio or whatever, right, pretends to be worker there, and your father is there and says कि कुछ आपके राउटर में हम अपडेट करना चाहते हैं, उससे फास्ट हो जाएगा, and changes these two, and you will not even come to know because you don't log into router, right? You use only SSID or the channels that are available, right? And then cyber criminal fully goes off and then uses this your router and gets everything, right? So this all comes under social engineering, where they use you know foolishness of people, or we can say their lack of knowledge, to cheat them. So basically it's a tricking user to get their passwords, which is very simplest way. All right, and then if somebody is hack into somebody's machine, then keylogger can be installed to collect. There are lot of ways to get the passwords. Okay, all right. So before that, let me just tell you a little bit about this diagram and then come back. So offline attack method is that somehow, for all users, there is a password file created, right? So in general, a system-wide password file which will contain user ID, which is in plain text, and password, which is in hashed form. This stored uh, in a directory, right, or in a file, which is user ID. For example, Ravi, and password could be Ravi123, and hash of this, which could be something like start 5 X W and so on and so forth, or fixed length, right? For each user, it will be. Now this password file is stolen. Okay, it's all the password file, for example, of Amazon.com or Facebook, etc., which have been hacked in the past, is available in darknet. You can buy it, or some of these are available also for free. So cyber criminal will get this password file. Okay, so now the user ID is available and passwords are available. Now how do you crack it? Now what do they do is that they want to, suppose my name is Ravi, and then my hash password is star WV 7, something like that of fixed length. So this thing is available. So what cyber criminal can do is that it will create a set of possible passwords, okay, and then hash is known. This hash algorithm or hash function is known. So for example, it will try like Ravi. Ravi may not be there. For example, Rajesh or Vimal, John, name of my city, for example, Delhi, and so on and so forth. And then use h of that and create this h of possible passwords. Okay, and then look at this one and then compare with h of this. Okay, and then if there is a match, then they have cracked it, right? So they will look at all these password and password file and match it with already generated password file, a hash password file that comes out of combinations of names, letters, or whatever, and that we will see. And if there is a hit, then they have cracked the password. Now, if you key a simple password like Ravi123, it can be cracked in less than a second offline with powerful computer that has GPU, etc. Okay, if my password is Ravi123 and file is leaked, then cyber criminal will run this and then crack it in less than a minute or less than a second, possibly, depending on what are they doing. And once they get my password, like my password is Ravi123, they know my user ID, which is available from this one, and they know also domain where, because they have got this from Facebook or whatever, and they'll use my user ID and password and crack it. Okay, understood? Any question? Are you able to understand it or not? Anyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's go back. So now we have studied online attack. Okay, before that, word list, of course, they can use cyber criminal to generate static passwords and then compare this part to the leaked passwords, right? And then mangling rules are there. I mean, how do you create password through mangling? That is, say, for example, dictionary words. It could be, for example, dictionary word is a name. My name could be a dictionary word, or it could be anything else which we call as dictionary word, which we commonly use. So if my name is Ravi123, my name is Ravi Mittal, for example. Okay, they will spell it backwards, like Lattim. This could be my password, for example. So this, or it could be first and last name. My name is Ravi. So, and then name of street where I live and city code and all these things they can generate, right? So there are mangling rules which are available. You can look at that, and then we'll generate these combinations and then hash it and create a static file. Once static file is there, then compare with something password file which is available to cyber criminals, right? So if you keep so if you can think of password, then attackers can also think that too, right? If they are much smarter and created all these rules to generate combinations that possibly you would have thought. All right. Okay. So online is done if when users criminals know your user ID and password. Otherwise, they know that account will be locked when they're kind of sure about it. Offline is that they will guess the password from the stolen credentials. All right, and then pre-compute. What are they going to pre-compute? Pre-compute this list, static list, where all the guesses are there, of all dictionary words or important. It could be exhaustive also. It can have terabytes of combinations. terabytes, tera bytes of data, or tera entries. Okay, and then, or it could be smarter, it could be smaller, and so on and so forth, right? And this static list of hash of each password is, or guess is available, and then compare these guesses with leaked hash. This is a leaked file, so hash of whatever is available, hash password available, compare this statically, and you can get a match. All right. Now these are done by some criminals when there's a good probability of finding some user IDs and password. User IDs anyways, some password they can crack and exploit that. But this is not a pinpointed attack. Okay, if you want to attack me, then this method possibly can work because my password is available, for example, in big baskets data leak, and I am foolish enough not to change my password, then you use one of the tools, and then you can crack my password. Okay, but otherwise you'll have to be smarter. You'll have to use social engineering techniques and so on, to get my password somehow. All right. So once I am able to get into your system, if I am cyber criminal, then I will install sniffer or keylogger into the system to steal more passwords. And that's possible. More passwords means what? I mean, system may contain large number of other passwords also, right? I mean, you might have protected your hard disk and so on. If it's server, then it has links to various things, various connections, and then there will be passwords corresponding to that. Okay, all right, okay. And once I get more password files, then I run cracking tools and get more passwords, crack open more passwords. All right, okay. So now what we have discussed is something like this. We'll discuss it again. Password file. OS stores user ID and password in the following way. This is user ID, which is in plain text, like Jane, Pat, Philip, whatever. For Indian context, it could be Ramesh or now Gaurav or maybe Parth or some of these names which are popular now. Okay. Okay, and then hash password. Now hash function is usually known. What kind of hashing we are using is very well known nowadays. Okay, so cyber criminals know that what is hash password, hashing function. And so this password file is leaked. These passwords are leaked along with identity. All right, this point we have discussed. Now how to make it, now this file is leaked, then what can be done? Okay, now simple thing is that first try dictionary attack. Now number of entries in this created file, right, what we have discussed here, this file could be very large, because see, if you are using 6 characters overall, which could be lowercase, uppercase, digits, okay, and so on, then number of combinations could be large, right? Or now I am using a special symbol and so on, then it can go into hundreds of millions. Now I cannot create a table which is as big as hundreds of millions, because, and then if I don't have very powerful GPU based multiprocessor system, then it will take time for me to crack. Okay, so what I am going to do is that I will be smarter and use the dictionary attack, use common names and combinations of use mangling rules, combination of that and so on, and try to crack open. That's the first thing. Now, okay, if it does not work and okay, then or I may be smarter, then I can use brute force attack. Now this will require terabytes of hard disk, say 100 to 200 terabytes, because you are using every possible combination of 8 letters, 8 characters, or 9 characters, or 10 characters, or so on. Okay, now that kind of hard disk you have, So you generate a table which is size of, which has all possible combinations of user password names and hash of that. Now use that and compare it with the leaked password file. But this will require terabytes of hard disk, which is expensive, right? And time required is also very high. But with multiprocessor system, terabyte memory is not that expensive. Computing is cheap. Over certain time, they will crack most of the passwords, 70-80%. If most passwords are 8 or 9 character long, then they can crack most of the password. And if you don't want to do that, you can use the rainbow table attack, which is a smart data structure. We'll look at. I will ask you to go through it and read it by yourself, because we don't have enough time to discuss this. And then of course we have discussed about password mangling and so on, right? And then you don't have to write algorithms to do this cracking. All the tools are available in freeware. So I will give you one assignment. Once we complete the study of hashing, we'll give you assignment to use this tool called John the Ripper, and I will give you a leaked password file and you need to crack it. Okay, all right. So dictionary attack we have already studied. It is a the dictionary attack is based on the principle that, based on the fact that, not principle, that passwords are not random. You don't have password like star 7 V X W 4, something like that. This password you normally you don't have. Do you have? You cannot remember, can't remember, right? And also difficult to type. So what you will have? You will have name of the city, your mother's name, father's name, 1 2 3 along with it, star, hash, whatever combination. Okay, all right. So the cyber criminals know that. Now what they generate a dictionary of this kind of names, which is like which will have, of course, some dictionary word. They look at your Collins dictionary or whatever, take most of the words, names of the cities, people name, pet names, and all that is generally close to 1 billion common password. And then you generate a table out of this. Look at this 1 billion possible password you can have, which is in plain, and then hash of that. All right. All right. Because if you use, for example, 8 character long password and use digits, punctuation symbols, etc., then it's a 6 quadrillion, which is very, very, very large list, right? Okay, all right. So which is very difficult to, when creating such a large size table is expensive, although it's available in darknet. Okay, but first thing is dictionary attack. If it fails, then please read that. This we have already discussed. Then they can use the brute force attack, which has all the combinations, for example, of 8 character. So most of people don't keep anything more than 8. Okay, or maybe 9 characters and so on, right? But have all possible combinations of that, and it could be very large number. Okay, so it could be, for example, 62. If it's a 6 character long password, then it will have 62 raised power 6 possible combinations. Okay, now here we don't have, we have uppercase, lowercase, and digit, not special symbols. If you use special symbol, combinations are more. So if you use 6 character long password with all the combination, then ordinary GPU based laptop, you can crack it open in 10 minutes. Okay, all right. But it will require 100 to 200 terabytes of memory. All right. Then we can create much smarter way. Now I'm not going to go through it because we don't have time to cover this. But you now try to think as a computer scientist and also a criminal. because many PhDs also work as cyber criminal, right? Right. So how do you reduce your time and when you don't have enough memory or powerful computer available? Now this is a very important research problem, how to optimize it. Okay, so it's a kind of time memory trade-off. It will use using less CPU at the cost of mass memory storage, more memory storage, right? So normally what we do is we're trying to optimize between time and memory. Of course, if you have a faster computer, then your time is anyway less. Okay, so now this mechanism, rainbow table, actually allows you to do this with less memory. It's called hash chain and it's based on reduction function. All right, rainbow table stores only first and last value of chain, requires less storage, and there is something called reduction function. In hash we have seen we map say p to some string to another string which is hash of p, and it's a one-way function. Now what you can do is that you now think of HP to P, which is not easy, right? Which is not, you can't get this because one, but you have some reduction function. Now based on some theory, okay? And then this reduction function you apply and create a data structure, right? So this method is given here. You start with a dictionary word, say it, for example, a 6 times a, apply hash function which is known, you get hash value, then apply this function r function with reduction function, you get this string, then again apply hash, then you get something, then you again apply this reduction function, you get this one. Now you store only first and the last. Okay, and then when you get password, hash password, then you compare with all this. For now we have done for a, then you do it for all possible combinations. Okay, but store only the first and last. Now normally we do it for only dictionary words, and then if this matches with any in the password file, then you start again from here. You go, because you have saved these two, you start from double A, apply H, you get this, and so on and so forth. And just before the match, you will get this number. This is a password. Oh, sorry, not this one, this one. Just before this, you get this. So this is the password. All right. So please go through it. Okay. It's for your if you're interested. Yeah. I will not ask any question on this in exam, but please go through it by yourself. All right. So password attack steps we already studied by now, so I will skip this. Okay. Now one thing that's really important is the key space. Okay, what is the key space? Longer your password and with more combinations, bigger the file cyber criminals have to generate for static, such that they can break it, right? Break your password. Okay. If you have very long password with all combination, it means that your character set is bigger. Okay, for example, you have A to small, A to Z, A to Z, 1 0 to 9, and all special characters. Now this call, this is 26, this is 26, this is 10, that becomes 52, 62 plus special characters and so on, right? This called character set. It will have something like 90s plus characters. Okay, bigger your character set, more the combinations, and larger the length, further it will have more combinations. So character set raised power of length is the key space which the cyber criminals need to to apply in if they are doing exhaustive cracking of password, right? All possible combination if they are trying. All right. So larger the key space is hard to break. For example, here password length is up to 7 characters. Okay, then key space is very small in terms of trillion, and password cracking time is also very small. But if you goes more than 7, then the space, key space, become larger. For example, cracking 8 character password is not 2 times the cracking time for 4 character password. Okay, so there are about 93 combinations, or your character set is 93. Okay, that's what we use nowadays. Okay, and then 8 character password cracking will take 93 raised power 8. So 93 raised power 8 combinations are possible. Okay, so if you're doing exhaustive cracking, then it will, and each step takes say 1 unit of time. It will take 93 raised power 8 unit of time. If it is a 4 character only, then it will take 93 raised power 4, which is 73 million times, 75 million times more time to crack if it is 8 character versus 4 character long password. It is like 1 second versus 865 days. Okay, so when you choose your password, you'll have to have longer password as much as possible. Okay, so very simple technique is that have a phrase, some not very commonly known phrase, that like my mother name is whatever name, or my mother, for example, even my mother, her name is say Rama. Now you change in this one, my m, for m you change, make it say instead of 1 you can m, you can have 1, then instead of o you can use 0 and something like that, and you create your password which is more than 15, and it has lowercase, uppercase, digit, etc., etc., and then it's very difficult to break and easy to remember also. There are a lot of techniques available which you can use. Now the question is that now we have spoken about the cyber criminals, how cyber criminals break it open. How do you make cracking harder? First thing is that this hashing algorithm which you are going to use to save the user generated password into password file, you make it slow. Okay, so it's like initially it takes 1 second for hashing algorithm to work. Now you make it slow and make it 100 millisecond. Oh sorry, once, so from sorry, instead of 100 millisecond, make it 1 second. Okay, so basically slow down the algorithm, because now cyber criminals also have got to use the same algorithm, which is slow algorithm. So you slow down the attack by 100 to 1000 times. Okay, how do you slow down then? Okay, there are many ways, right? First is that choose slower hashing algorithm. You will see what is the one such slow algorithm is bcrypt, which you use mostly, right? Then second method is to slow down cracking is use larger character set and longer passwords, that we have already seen, right? Because key space increases. Okay, and third is use of password salts. Okay, all right, so these three things. Now what is salt we will discuss now. Okay, so basically this is a method. So what we do is that when, suppose, let's take my example, my user ID is Ravi, my password is Ravi123. Okay, when system is saving this user ID, that will save as Ravi, and password they are saving is Ravi123, they will have a salt here. Okay, after my hashed password. So what will they will take my password, add a salt which is a random string. of certain length. Okay, so they, for example, it becomes say xw1 star. For example, this is a salt. So now they will hash this my original password that I have set plus this salt and then store that in a file. Okay, so now we'll see how does it work. Okay, so now we'll just hold on for a minute and then we'll come back. So now this you have password and salt, okay, given by user. User gives password, add salt to that, which is nothing but a random character string, and do multiple times some hashing function which is already slow in nature. Okay, which is c times c could be 10,000. Okay, and then what value you get is your hash password, which is hash function which is applied c times password and salt. This was originally given by user and applies salt and so on. Okay, how does it work and what is the use of this? Okay, so when password is created, because most of us create similar password, right? Okay, and but hash for salt for each one of these user will be different. So cyber criminals, if cracks one, cannot crack multiple. That's one advantage, because for each user salt is different. All right, all right, okay, okay. So let's look at this. So basically, algorithm is this: user ID is UI, password is PI, which I am setting as a user, and random t bits of salt I add to this one is SI. Okay, so length of course t is t bits. Okay, then and this length of this is usually more than 64. The salt size is more than 64. So system will store now user ID which is in plain, then salt which is also in plain text, and then h of pi and si. Now the question you may ask is that when this file is leaked, then cyber criminals will get my name Ravi and also the salt that system has applied in plain. Then how does it happen? Help, because salt is also known. So you'll have to think of the answer of that. The example is this: my name is Sanjay123. And system, when I set the password, system will apply random salt S41T. Okay, then generated salt become S41T Sanjay123. Okay, apply hashing function of that, and system will store now salted hash, salt, and user ID, which is not shown here. Okay, now when I log in with my user ID Sanjay, my user ID, and then give my password Sanjay123, system will apply salt. That's known to it, right? Because stored in this password file. Okay, and then my password becomes this one, which is unsalted, which is unhashed password. Okay, and apply hashing function. Then I get salted hash and then compare with that stored. All right. So now what's the advantage? If system does not get salt, then attackers can pre-compute hashes of all common password once. Okay, now I have 64 bit of hash, 64 characters of hash or 64 bits of hash. Then they have to generate so many more combinations to create a pre-computed hash list of commonly used passwords, right? So if I use 12 bit of random salt, then password will hash to 2 raised power 12 hash values. Okay, so it becomes, if for t bit salt, it becomes 2 raised power t times harder in computation and storage, because the table entries will go up, because for each user such salt can be applied. So if I take as a system or guy a larger value of t, then pre-computed table for cyber criminal becomes very big. Okay, so that's a great advantage. All right, but salt doesn't really increase. If somebody has guessed my password through social engineering, then salt doesn't help really, because salt is known. Okay, please read through this OTP, one time password, because you know this. All right. All right. Also about passcode. All right. And then what we studied is password. There are other methods also, right? There are other method that something user has, like your ID, smart card, token, all that, right? Ticket, for example. Okay, these are method of authentication. Then this whole something that's becoming popular is biometrics. Even your laptop, or your mobile, you can log into your mobile just with your face or eyes, right? So biometrics, and of course where the place is, right? So please go through this, very simple. Token, smart card, RFIDs are there, and there's of course there is always challenge response authentication, which will not go through in this class. Then you please go through what are the biometrics. It's very interesting. How does basically my face, for example, when I looking at camera, must convert into some code, right? How does it convert into code which can be compared and allowed me login and all that? There's a lot of algorithms and science behind that. So where is biometrics method? Can a fingerprint, keystroke dynamics, voice, retina scan, etc. Advantage are nothing to remember, is a passive, can't share. Password can be shared, but my iris cannot be shared, right? And it's fairly unique, but there are certain advantages and disadvantages. Please go through this. I will ask questions on this in the exam. All right. All these are very simple. Okay. So there are a lot of cases where people have even cut the thumb of a victim and use this for login. They have created clones. To pass through, right? So there are lot of other methods. Okay, and next thing is the multi-factor authentication. Don't use only user ID and password. Use second factor authentication, right? OTP or whatever you have, and do this for your Google account. The most important. All right. Okay. So please read about multi-factor authentication. Now, so I'm not going to go through this because very simple. You can do it by yourself. So we can move on to much important topics in the next class onwards. All right. So please go through the summary. All this we have studied. Key space is very important. Larger your password, big and more combination it has, difficult for cyber criminals to break. Cyber cracking, password cracking can be slowed down by algorithm or password salts. OTPs, etc. should be used in a multi-factor authentication, and so on. All right. So thank you. Any question?
In the model assignment, you have not